Hi everyone, I'm Sarah of Rich Textures Crochet and welcome to Learn to Crochet with RTC. Today we are going to learn how to make a single crochet stitch. To make a single crochet stitch, you are going to start by making a foundation chain. If you need further instruction on how to make a foundation chain, you may tune into one of my previous videos on how to make a foundation chain, also in this Learn to Crochet series. I will go slowly here for you today though, so that you can see a little bit of how it's done. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by making our slip knot. To make my slip knot, I simply cross my yarn over, put my fingers through the hole, go through, grab the yarn that is attached to my ball of yarn, and pull tight. And that just makes my slip knot. I then insert my hook through that loop and pull until the yarn is a little bit more snug, not too tight, because I want to be able to move my hook in and out through the loop smoothly. Then I'm going to begin by making a series of chain stitches. Today for this tutorial, I will be chaining 15. So I'm going to yarn over and pull my hook through, and that is one chain. So I'm going to continue that for 14 more chains. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So now you can see I have done, I'm just going to move my ball of yarn out of the way there. I have made a foundation chain of 15 chain stitches, and I can go back and count and make sure that I have 15 by counting each of these little individual V's, which are on the top right here of my chain, or if I look at the back of my work, I will see these little bumps. And these little bumps, each individual bump is an individual stitch. So if I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, I know that I have 15 chains on my hook. When you are starting out in a crochet pattern and it tells you specifically how many chains you need to start, it's very important that you pay attention to that detail and start off with the right number or the correct number of chains that are being asked for. So now we are going to work a row of single crochets into this foundation chain. What I'm going to do is I am right-handed, so I will be holding my hook in my right hand, the yarn in my left, and I'm going to start by making my first stitch, my first single crochet, in the second chain from my hook. So this bump closest to my hook, not including the loop on my hook, I don't include that one. So this next one, that's the first chain, and then this is the second chain. And I like to, when I work my first row, I like to work into these back bumps of my chain. So to work my first single crochet in the second chain from my hook, I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to insert it underneath that back bump of my chain, just like that. So I'll show you one more time. So when you first make your chain, you're going to see these V stitches here. You're going to turn your chain over. I have my first chain, and I want to make my first stitch in the back, back loop, back bump of my second chain from my hook. So I'm going to insert my hook under that back bump, Then I'm going to yarn over by taking my yarn that's attached to my yarn ball and simply placing it over my crochet hook toward me. So I'm going to bring it over toward me. I'm then going to pull my crochet hook through, taking a hold of that yarn that I've placed over top, and I'm going to bring my hook back under that bump, just like that. And I'm going to bring it up. And when I bring it up, I want to make sure that both of the loops that are now on my hook kind of move over the shaft of my crochet hook. If I keep them up close to this front and don't pull that loop up a little bit, my stitches are going to be very tight. And I want my stitches not messy looking, but I don't want them too tight. I want them just nice and relaxed. Okay, I'll show you that one more time. So just single crochet in the second chain from my hook. I count back from my hook. There's 1, this is 2. I'm going to insert my hook under that bump, yarn over by bringing the yarn toward me, pull my hook back out, taking hold of that yarn and pulling it through with me. And I'm going to pull it up so that both loops are roughly the same size and more on the shaft of my crochet hook. Now to complete the stitch, I am once again going to yarn over, so bring my yarn around my hook toward myself, and I'm going to pull my hook through both of those loops, taking the yarn with me. So I've yarned over, and I'm going to pull my hook through those 2 loops. There's 1 and there's 2 that were on my crochet hook. And I'm going to again move the loop onto the shaft of my crochet hook, which will make the stitch a little bit looser. And there you can see I have 1 single crochet. Now I'm going to continue making stitches along my chain. So I started with 15 chains. Because my first stitch is in that second chain from my hook, I'm going to have a total of 14 stitches along this chain. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to take my crochet hook, I'm going to move to the next bump, the next chain stitch. I'm going to insert my hook under that bump. I'm going to yarn over by bringing the yarn toward me over my crochet hook, and I'm going to pull the crochet hook back under, taking that yarn with it. I'm going to pull it up and just gently slide it onto the shaft of my crochet hook. That will again ensure that these 2 loops are relatively the same size. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull my hook back through those loops, and when you turn your hook, it's best to kind of turn your hook downward, and that will make it easier for you to pull your hook through. So taking that yarn with me, I'm going to pull it through both of those loops that were on my hook and pull it up. So now I have 1 stitch. You see these little V's here, and I have 2 stitches. I'm going to continue working. Insert my hook, so go to the next bump, insert my hook under that bump, yarn over, pull my hook through, and bring up a loop. I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over again, bring the yarn toward myself, then turn my crochet hook just a little bit and pull it through both of those loops that were on my hook and bring it up. I now have 1, 2, 3 stitches. We'll keep going. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. Number 4. insert my hook in the next bump, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. And this may feel quite awkward as you're getting used to holding on to your crochet hook, your yarn, and the piece that you're working on, but with practice, I promise you it does get easier. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Insert my hook under the next bump, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through. I'm going to go to the next bump. Insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. The next stitch, go to the next bump, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. And I keep doing this all the way to the end of my chain, or for however many stitches that your pattern calls for. Continue working along. Once I reach the end, I'll take a moment and show you what the final process looks like, or the final product. Next bump, insert my hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. Then when I come to my final chain, you never include that first slip knot, and so your final chain is that stitch right after it. And it's always important that you remember to work into your final stitch, otherwise your work will become kind of lopsided and crooked. So always work into that last chain, just like that. So now if we pull back a little bit, you will see now that I have 14 stitches. And if I'm going to count them, I can see here there's 1, and I'm counting each of these little V's that come down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If I take a look at my top of my work, you will see these little V's coming up along the top. And again, each V is for each individual stitch. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14. So that is your first row. Sometimes people will call it a foundation row of single crochets, and that's your first row of single crochets. Now what we're going to continue to do is we are going to work another row of single crochet, and we are going to work them on top of these ones that we just made, because we've run out of chain here at the end. We have no more chains to work into, and so now instead of building our stitches long, we are going to build them tall, build them high. So what you're going to do is once you reach the end of your chain, you are going to chain 1. So you remember how to chain 1. You're going to yarn over and pull your hook through and bring up 1 loop. So you have now 1 chain 1. And what that does is it just brings our work up a little bit higher, so that our work doesn't curl or doesn't bunch up. It's just going to bring us up so that we're able to work another row on top. Then we have to change directions. We can't keep working in the same way we were, so we want to turn our work around. So now you can see the back of your work. So this is sometimes called the wrong side. So this is the wrong side of your work. And now we want to work a row of single crochets across. Now, to work on top of another stitch, you're going to take a look at your stitches and you see these little V stitches. And then when you look at the back, you see kind of there's a little bit of a space right underneath that horizontal bar there, right underneath that V-stitch. There's a little bit of a space kind of to the left in your stitch. And that's the space that you're going to work in. So you've chained one. Now you're going to insert your hook and you're going to insert it in that little space. So under that first horizontal bar, you're going to insert your hook. And you're going to stick your hook through all the way to the other side. So it's going to be, if you look at the top, underneath the V, all the way to the other side. You're then going to yarn over, so bring the yarn towards yourself, and you're going to pull your hook through just as you did before, taking hold of that yarn, and you're going to pull it under that V, and you're going to pull it up onto the shaft of your crochet hook. You're then going to complete the stitch by again pulling your yarn over towards yourself, and then you're going to bring your hook down and through both of those loops that were on your hook. And that is your first stitch made on top of the other. We're going to continue down. So again, we're going to go to the next stitch. This is our next stitch. We're going to look for that little, so we're now moving on to our second stitch. We're going to insert our hook under that horizontal bar into that little space that you might see if you pull your work a little bit. And we're going to go right under that V again. Insert your hook under the V. You're going to yarn, just pull your yarn over your hook. You're going to pull your hook back through under the V and pull up another loop. So you have 2 loops on your hook. Going to yarn over, bring the yarn towards yourself, turn your hook down and pull through, just like that. And that is your second stitch made. So we're going to continue. Go moving to your next stitch. You're going to insert your hook under that horizontal bar, under the V through to the other side, yarn over, grab a hold of that yarn and pull it through and pull it up onto the shaft of your crochet hook. Yarn over and pull through, just like that. You're going to continue working, and you can see that you have these little V's forming again on your work. So you're going to insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. And we're going to keep going. Insert your hook under the horizontal bar, under the V, all the way to the other side, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. And keep going under the horizontal bar, through to the other side, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. And keep going all the way to the end of your work. Sometimes I find that the longer my work gets, so the wider that this part gets, the easier it is to hang on to if you're having trouble. And again, it just comes with practice. I'm almost down to the end. Insert my hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, insert my hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. Then again, when you come to the end, make sure that you work your final single crochet in your final stitch, if that's what your pattern is calling for. So always make sure you don't miss it, or else your work will kind of start going on an angle. You want to make sure you always work in that last stitch. And there you go. So now you have 2 rows of single crochet. We're going to start working one more row, just so you know that you have the hang of it. And I'll go over one last important thing too. So again, to work the next row, you're going to chain 1. So yarn over, pull your hook through to make your chain. You're then going to turn your work around because you want to go in the opposite direction. And then you're going to start your work. You're going to make sure that you work your first single crochet in this first stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, insert your hook in the next one, just like that, this one, move to the next stitch, and now you can see, let's do a couple more here for you. If I take a look at my work, you can now see sort of 3 distinct rows forming. And as you get used to it and know what the stitches look like, it gets easier to identify them. But I have this row here, 1, 2, here, and 3. This is my 3rd row. Now say in your work you make a mistake, and let's say it's back here somewhere. Now the beauty of crochet is that you are only ever working with 1 stitch at a time, and so it makes it really easy to correct a mistake if one is made. So if I made a mistake back here, I want to go back to that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hook out of my work and set it down, and then I'm simply going to pull. So let's pretend this is my mistake here. Then I'm simply going to pull my stitch out. There's 1, pull this one out, 2, 3, and 4. And there's my mistake, so I'm going to pull out that one last mistake. I've pulled out those stitches. And then I'm left, my mistake is gone. I have this one neat little loop left. I simply insert my hook into that loop, and then I continue on and hopefully correct the mistake that I made in the process. So I've got the loop on my hook. I just continue making my single crochets or whatever stitch was called for on the pattern all the way across. So it makes it really it's annoying. I don't like having to tear out my work that I've worked hard on, especially if the mistake is 2 or 3 rows down. But at least you're only dealing with 1 loop. So it's 1 loop on your hook, 1 loop off your hook, and you're not trying to pick up more than 1 stitch at a time. Okay, so that is how you make a single crochet stitch. Thank you so much for joining me for this Learn to Crochet tutorial with Rich Textures Crochet. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and as well subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I will continue to bring more stitch tutorials and great free crochet patterns. Thank you for watching. Happy crocheting. Bye.